presented by the emergence of COVID-19. This time compounded by some incomprehensible behaviors. Glued to our television screens and other sources of information, we have seen how this pandemic has gripped the world. First in Wuhan, China, then to countries in Europe, to Australia, to the United States. Almost every country in the world have reported cases of this virus. Yet we seem not to fully grasp the magnitude of the threat before us. That is some of us. We have seen in the most graphic detail how healthcare systems in the most developed and advanced countries of the world have been falling apart and collapsing under the weight of this virus. Still, some of us fail to recognize or appreciate the gravity of the situation facing us. We have witnessed dozens of patients lying in corridors and hospitals in Spain, and some of us continue with business as usual. Hundreds dying in Italy, funerals suspended, and the army called in to remove bodies. But some of us totally ignore this eventuality. Fellow Grenadians, our country and other countries around the world are facing this unprecedented public health threat. On Sunday, we discovered our first laboratory confirmed case of COVID-19. This patient is now stable, and the healthcare officials continue to monitor her condition. The implication of this disease in our population is that urgent and immediate action is required to identify and curb the spread. In our attempt to do so, we have closed our borders. Our Ministry of Health has called for a change in our cultural and social practices. It has introduced measures like social distancing and appeal to the reasoning of people's consciousness. Sadly, dear fellow citizens, many of us have ignored these appeals. Grenadians returning home and other visitors to our shores, some of them have failed to comply with voluntary requests to self-quarantine, and people can be seen up and down the country carrying on as though these are normal times, but they are not. At this stage, with the presence of this disease circulating within the population, and based on medical and scientific projections, if we fail to give effect to the serious steps required to contain, curtail, identify, and isolate this virus, Grenada will pay a significant price. Moreover, many are using this crisis as an opportunity to play politics or to peddle rumors, thus causing unnecessary fear and panic among the population. Sisters and brothers, fellow Grenadians, Caraconians, PD Martinicans all, this is not the time. There are no heroes in war, and make no mistake, this is indeed a war, and the enemy is COVID-19. Again, I urge you to listen to the official sources such as the government of Grenada, and in particular the Ministry of Health, for your regular updates. Brothers and sisters, friends all, as a government we have nothing to gain and everything to lose by withholding critical information from you, the general public. No one is immune to this disease. That is why we must all act and react responsibly. Again, that backdrop, fellow citizens, I'm compelled to recommend the declaration of a limited state of emergency in order to give the medical authorities the necessary mechanism by which we can enforce the stemming of the community spread of COVID-19 virus. In this regard, therefore, I'm asking the Governor General to declare a limited state of emergency in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique for the next 21 days. This will take effect from 6 p.m. today and will put a limit on the wide range of normal activities. Citizens will be allowed between the hours of 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. every day to leave their homes only to conduct certain designated activities. In the United Kingdom, where the disease is now galloping on a significant pace, and from which our first case and most other cases now in the Caribbean have come, there are now limitations and new sweeping powers given to the police. The restrictions call for everyone to avoid contact as much as is possible. What we are doing in Grenada is nothing less but necessary in the battle against this dreadful disease. Fellow citizens, friends all, these measures are not meant to punish anyone, but they are designed to ensure that this disease does as little damage as possible to the Grenadian people and the Grenadian economy. Sisters and brothers all, I recognize and I call on the religious community in our midst who have constantly held us up as a nation. Now more than ever, we need your spiritual guidance and prayers. We need words of grace to cover our nation and our people. Sometime during the next 21 days, the entire nation will be called to prayer at an assigned date and time, whether we are at home or at work. I leave it to our religious leaders to design the modalities, and I thank them all in advance for their guidance. Sisters and brothers, before closing, I must salute all the healthcare workers in our country, or doctors or nurses, or orderlies, maintenance workers, cooks, cleaners, administrators, all those who work in the medical industry and who are at the front line of this fight. I thank and recognize the many volunteers, the St. John's Ambulance Brigade, the Red Cross, the Cadet Corps, and all those who have rallied to ensure in some way that COVID-19 is contained and ultimately defeated. I also want to thank the rank and file of our armed forces who at this time have the difficult task of maintaining law and order. I recognize the frontline workers in other sectors who served and those who continue to serve our population in the various economic sectors. I call on each and every citizen to be responsible, patriotic, and cooperative. Regulation will be announced immediately after this address, and I urge the general public to pay close attention and to observe the restrictions outlined. Let us all do our part to keep ourselves and the rest of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique safe. I thank you.
The proceeding was an address to the nation by Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell.